Hi, I'm Arlene, a compulsive overeater. I weigh and measure 3 meals a day from the Gray Sheet. I committed to my sponsor. I don't eat in between, and abstinence is the most important thing in my life. And my abstinent date is December 25th, 2005. So today I celebrate 16 years of Gray Sheet wonderful abstinence. It's a miracle. It's a miracle. So I'll start as far back as I could remember. I was either on a diet or planning what diet I was going to be on from the age of 10. And that's when I went on my first diet. I remember being in my bedroom at night and my mother would bring me in a snack. And that's all I could think about. When am I going to get my snack? And that's it. That's all I remember. And then I remember getting thin. I wasn't really overweight at 10 years old, maybe 10 pounds. But to me, I was chubby. I'm a little girl. And I remember all of a sudden I was thin and I seemed to have a lot of friends. Everybody would, it was, and I thought that was the answer. If I was thin, life would be great. All the girls that were thin and pretty had it made. And they all came from good families. And I came from kind of like my parents didn't really have money. And I grew up in a neighborhood where there was a lot of money around. So right then and there, I always felt different, but my parents tried to give me everything my friends had, even though we didn't have that kind of money. Anyways, so at 15, from 15 to 19, let me back up a little bit. When I was 14, I went to Weight Watchers. And then from 15 to 19, diet pills. And I kind of stayed within the 20-pound range those years of my life from 15 to 19. But again, once those 20 pounds were on, I could have been 100 pounds overweight. That's how I felt about myself. And my boyfriend let me know it too. I had a boyfriend at 17 and he was always bugging me about my weight. I met him and I was at a decent weight when I met him, and then I gained like 10 pounds and he would bother me. And it made me feel worse about myself. So 20 pounds on me could have been 100 pounds on somebody else. So at 19, what happened was I was smoking pot and I was at my boyfriend's house in Connecticut. And I think he told me he was seeing another girl. And it was just a bad weekend. I came home and I ended up in a hospital. And the doctors in the hospital said to my mother that these diet pills that I was taking got me sick. So she said, I can't do the diet pills anymore. And I just thought that was the end of the world. If I can't do diet pills, I'm going to be fat. I'd rather be sick and thin than not be able to do diet pills. It was really did not want to be overweight. It really affected my self-esteem tremendously as a young girl and for the rest of my life till today. And so I had shortly after that, I heard about Overeaters Anonymous when I was 21. I went to my first OA meeting in 1976. Did not stay too long, then came back in 78, 79, and it was called Westminster. And Westminster was the Gray Sheet, but not the way we do it today. It was just the way it's written, no fat at lunch, no, just very deprivation. And I couldn't sustain it long. I did get skinny though, but I couldn't sustain it long. And throughout my years, I went to regular OA and I tried the different sheets. There was the orange sheet, the blue sheet, the Gray Sheet. At one time, the orange sheet worked for me. I did that for a while. Then couldn't do that. Then what happened? Then I went to Howe, New York Howe, and that was very strict also. Gray Sheet, very strict. That worked for about a year. And I'll never forget this one day. It was Thanksgiving and everybody was at my house. And I said to my boyfriend, oh, pour me a glass of wine, very innocently, like, you've been on this program for a year now. You sure you want the wine? I said, yeah, I'll be all right. I'll be all right. That was it. Off to the races, 50 pounds later, and that was my story of my life. Sometimes I picked up the alcohol first, and then it always led to the food. And in 1991, I was struggling. I was just struggling. I was going to meetings and And at that time, they came into the HOW meetings and they said that you can't do the gray sheet anymore. It was unhealthy and people were being sued and nobody was doing gray sheet anymore. And everybody was floundering. And one Monday night, I was at that meeting and this girl came over to me and she said, they're starting a gray sheet meeting in Mineola. And I said, gray sheet? I said, I thought we can't do gray sheet anymore. She goes, well, apparently gray sheet's been going on in Manhattan and somebody from Manhattan is coming to Mineola. And it was January 6, 1991. So I've been around almost 30 years, but I don't have 30 years. And I went there and I sat there for 4 weeks. Every Saturday morning, I went to that Mineola meeting. And I started to cry. The fourth meeting, I was just crying. This girl just touched my heart. And at that time, I was living with an alcoholic and I didn't want to stop drinking because I thought if I stopped drinking, our relationship would be over, because that's what we had in common. So I sat there for 4 weeks, but I was getting, at that point, I was like in the 160s, which to me, that was obese at that point. I got beyond that later on. And so I went over to the girl there and I asked her if she could sponsor me. And she said, I can temporarily sponsor you, but you have to go to Manhattan and get a sponsor there. So I was deathly afraid of driving to Manhattan. But there were these girls from Long Island that were going to the gray sheet meeting. So I went to one of their houses and they drove me to the meeting in Manhattan. And I couldn't believe what I saw. I saw you. I saw all of you, beautiful people that were thin and gorgeous. They had lives, they had jobs, and they didn't eat no matter what. I went to this meeting, it was called Yen House. I don't know if anybody, some of you. And there was this big sign in black and white letters, don't eat no matter what. Never heard that before. No matter what. No matter if my mother dies, my father dies, don't eat no matter what. And the meeting was packed. You had to get there early to get a seat. And so that's what I did. I was with this boyfriend. He was going to cooking school. So we had separate lives. He was still drinking. And that's what my life was in 1991. I learned to drive to Manhattan myself. It was fine. I had a whole system. I'd go early. I drove in the traffic from Little Neck, Queens to New York, Tuesdays, Fridays, sometimes Saturdays and Sundays. I was like, they said, take this excitement that you have on those Friday nights when you want to drink and eat, those Friday nights, take that excitement and put your program in it. And that's just what I did. And that was my life. And I loved it. Plus, there was this great restaurant there that we all went to. It was called Grace's. So some of you might know it. And it was great. I mean, this was like Friday night. I'd go. Sometimes I ate in the restaurant, but mostly not. Mostly I would go in there, order my food, go to this great meeting, and then drive home. And I did this Tuesdays and Fridays. And then Mineola on Saturdays. And then my sponsor told me that you have to go to, so I ended up getting another sponsor. And this sponsor had 6 months abstinence. Now she's got 31 years, I think. 6 months abstinence. And she weighed and measured on her honeymoon. Her honeymoon? She weighed and measured on her honeymoon? I couldn't believe it. So she told me that I had to go to 4 meetings a week, live meetings. And if I can't get to 4 gray sheet meetings, go to AA. And at that time, I thought I was like a codependent alcoholic because my boyfriend was an alcoholic, but I know I'm an alcoholic now, but I didn't know it then. So that's what I did. I went to AA meetings, gray sheet meetings. I went to work, came home, shopped. That was my life. It was great. Then we broke up. And I started dating in abstinence. That was hard. Wasn't easy. But they said you can judge your guy by if he supports what you do, that's a good guy. If he doesn't support what you do, he's not a good guy. And, some men supported it, some didn't. P.S., I'm married now, 26 years. On my first date, my husband didn't even notice that I was weighing and measuring my food. He went to the bathroom, I popped my salad out, didn't notice. You couldn't care less what I did with my food, right? That if someone loves you, they don't care what you do with your food. So, okay, so I had 6.5 years, and then I had another couple of years. And then I got like stinking thinking. I allowed personalities to get to me. I don't even know what else got to me. The disease got to me. And I left. I left. And I went to another program for a little bit. That didn't work. Uh, Came back again and stayed for another 2 years. This was 2000, I think. Stayed for another 2 years. Again, personalities left again. Now, this time I was out for 3 years. And those 3 years were detrimental. I almost got up to 200 pounds. I'm only 5 feet. And I tried everything else again after knowing that this is the only thing that worked. I tried Weight Watchers again because my sister and my best friend did Weight Watchers and they were successful. Why can't I do it? I went to this nutritionist that was like a famous nutritionist. He treated Jodie Foster. And I went to him. They asked me if I lost a pound. He said I could drink 4 glasses of wine. I was like, are you kidding me? And he was supposed to be like the best nutritionist, famous. And anyways, he took all type of blood work from you. He gave you a Pacific food plan. It was crazy, but I did it, except of course I didn't do it. So then finally, I went to another nutritionist. I was doing that for a few weeks and it was right before Christmas. And I was a teacher and all my kids gave me all this good stuff for Christmas. And I took it home and it was Christmas Eve and I started opening the stuff the kids gave me. And I knew, I said, if I don't go back to Gray Sheet now, I am going to be eating and drinking this whole Christmas vacation, and I am going to just blow up more than 200 pounds. So I got on the phone bridge Christmas Day in 2005, and that was day one. And it's just been a miracle. I mean, a lot has happened in 16 years. So I can't begin to tell you. I went through a lot of no matter what's, like a lot of you did. My first abstinent, my mother did pass and I did stay abstinent, but I couldn't even eat. It was the opposite. I didn't want to eat. This time, my no matter what's were 1996. I got breast cancer. I stayed abstinent. And I had breast cancer again in 2015. I had a double mastectomy. I was in the hospital for 4 days. Still stayed abstinent. And I had a lot of good things happen too. I just moved to Florida, living here. I moved September 8th. We bought our house October 20th. And the third day, September 10th, was the day we arrived in Florida. And I had a lot of backup with me. I had food with me, but I didn't have enough for that dinner. And it was really getting late. And I ended up going to 7-Eleven and weighing and measuring my food on the trunk of my car. But it was an abstinent meal. It wasn't a number 10, but it was an abstinent meal. Whatever I have to do to stay abstinent, I do it. I could tell you a couple of stories where I left my food in the microwave one day. I called my sponsor. One time I came home and I saw a half-eaten something fruit. I had to call my sponsor. I mean, I make mistakes. I'm human. I make mistakes. And I call my sponsor and I let her know that I made a mistake. It's a great life here. I read my spiritual books every morning, all my little books. I say pages 86, 87, 88, and I pray the 3rd step prayer, the 7th step prayer. I did a big book study and it taught me to look at my part. I made a big list of there was a lot of people on that list. And then when I had to go back to work once after a summer, I had to do a couple of more people from school. And I had to look at my part. It doesn't matter what they did to me. And, Christmas is a hard holiday for a lot of us, to me. I mean, when my niece was little, I used to spend a lot of time with her, and now she's 12, and a couple of, like today, a video came up of her and me. And, I got a little sad. Thank you. I got a little sad, that I'm not with them. But it's like every Christmas when I used to go there, what was there? Drinking, eating. I never ate there. I never drank there. I used to bring my own meal. And a lot of times I would just like leave before, just leave and go home and eat my own dinner because I enjoy that better. I enjoy going home, eating my own dinner much more than I do eating at parties. So, I mean, today it's like they have, like there was a Christmas party in my neighborhood, but I chose not to go. I don't really know anyone anyways. And I just rather not be in that kind of a circumstance if I could avoid it. But they told me you have three choices. You could go early. You could eat there, weigh measure your food, which I've done, or you could eat after. We all have choices, and there's always a way to stay abstinent. Always a way to stay abstinent. It's like, I'm trying to think what else. Let's see what else. I have things written down in case I forgot. I got 5 more minutes still. Yeah, I feel like I spoke for a long time. Okay. Oh, yeah. When I was working, what I used to do is I would make food for days. Like I would line up like an assembly line. So I would like barbecue up a big protein, a poultry protein. And I'd weigh out 4-ounce portions. So I would just grab the 4-ounce portion from the freezer, made life easier when I was in school, or I'd weigh a couple of breakfasts ahead of time before I went to work. All these little things that help me to stay abstinent. I really don't have that much more to say because I was nervous. Speaking is not my favorite thing, as a lot of my sponsees are on here, which I'm so touched that I have some of my sponsees are on here. I could cry seeing all of their faces. It's just so sweet that they came on, and they're good friends of mine too. And I love them. I love my sponsor. I just love Grey Sheet. It's like saved my life. I mean, another thing I wanted to talk about was I had, since I have a couple of more minutes, I had gained weight in Grey Sheet. I had gained a lot of weight because I was on this thyroid medicine. And then I went off the thyroid medicine. I lost the weight, but I still struggle. I struggled with weight for a long time and not being at my goal weight. And that's what took me out years ago. Years ago, what took me out was I had gained like 7 pounds and I was a size 10 instead of a size 6. So that, that took me out. And this time around, I had gained some weight on Grey Sheet. I couldn't get to my goal weight. And the last couple of years, I have been able to. Maybe my thyroid straightened out. I did change some of the way I eat. I have to admit that. Certain vegetables that I was eating, orange vegetables, I was eating like all the time for lunch and dinner. I did stop eating that. I did lose the 10 pounds that I wanted to lose all these years. So I am grateful for that. But my endocrinologist did tell me I have to increase my thyroid medicine, which last time my endocrinologist told me that I did it and I gained 10 pounds. This time I'm increasing it slowly. He said you could have a heart attack. So it's like, oh, yeah. Do I want to gain 10 pounds again? Do I want to have a heart attack? No. But I guess I will listen to him. They say it's not about the weight, but it is about the weight. If I have to be 10 pounds up more or 10 pounds less, it's not going to break me. It's not that I'm going to gain 100 pounds. My sponsor's not going to let me get fat. You're not going to let me get fat. It does feel better to be a little thinner, I have to admit, but either way, I stayed abstinent. Even when I was 20 pounds heavier in Grey Sheet, I still stayed abstinent and I still weighed and measured my food. And I still wasn't ready to give up that food right away. It took me a long time to be able to give up that vegetable that I love so much. Now I'll have it on occasion, but I don't eat it every day. But I mean, I do love my food though. There are other foods that I love now just as much as that vegetable. I think it's important. If I didn't love my food, I wouldn't be able to stay abstinent because that's what always happened in the past. I'd be on a diet, I'd feel deprived, and I'd end up binging, So if you don't love your food, it wasn't going to work for me if I don't love my food. I look forward to every meal. I can't wait when I wake up. Yay, breakfast is coming, and lunch is coming. I can't wait. 4 hours, dinner's coming, it's my highlight of my days is my food, is my meals. I look forward to them really a lot. And I just I love the meetings. I love the phone bridge. I love Zoom, and I'm glad it's time. And thank you so much. Merry Christmas to everybody and happy holidays.